The construction crew treated Sam like he was past his prime. The guy who'd been around forever, but never seemed to advance beyond basic concrete work. "Old Sam's good for pouring foundations," the foreman would joke, "but don't ask him to figure out the complex stuff." They assumed he was just another blue-collar lifer, without the education or skills for real engineering work. But when the earthquake hit downtown and the Meridian Tower started pancaking floor by floor, with hundreds trapped inside, Sam's simple construction knowledge became the difference between a rescue operation and a mass grave. Because sometimes the man they think knows the least about buildings is actually the one who built them in war zones where failure meant everyone dies. Welcome to the Silent Heroes. Before we continue this story of hidden expertise and life-saving courage, tell us in the comments from which city in the world are you watching this video today? And if you believe stories like this deserve to be heard, hit that subscribe button. These silent heroes walk among us every day, and their stories matter. Sam Martinez had been working construction in Phoenix for 8 years, showing up every morning at 6 a.m. sharp to the Meridian Tower project downtown. At 52, he looked like any other veteran construction worker. Weathered hands, steel-toed boots, hard hat stained with years of honest work. The younger crew members tolerated Sam with casual dismissal, reserved for aging workers who'd plateaued decades ago. To them, he was reliable but limited, good for mixing concrete, laying rebar, basic grunt work. But when blueprints needed interpreting or structural problems required solutions, they looked to college-educated engineers. "Sam's a good worker," foreman Rick Torres would tell new hires. "But he's old school, never had formal training. Don't expect him to understand the technical stuff." The younger guys, Jake, Tommy, Marcus, would nod and file Sam away as harmless but outdated. They weren't mean about it. Sam was well-liked, respected for his work ethic. He just wasn't considered management material. But if they'd paid closer attention, they might have noticed things that didn't fit. How Sam's eyes lingered on structural blueprints with intense focus. How he positioned equipment with mathematical precision. The fact that he could estimate load distributions in his head while others needed calculators. They might have wondered why Sam instinctively ducked when helicopters flew overhead, or why he always positioned himself near exits, why his tool organization resembled military efficiency more than civilian habit. These were reflexes burned into muscle memory during years of building under fire, where sloppy preparation could mean the difference between coming home and becoming a casualty statistic. Sam's routine was as solid as the concrete he poured. Clock in at 5:58 a.m. Review plans, begin work with methodical precision. The Meridian Tower was Phoenix's newest skyscraper, 42 stories rising from the desert. Sam knew every beam, every support column, every structural element. During lunch breaks, while others scrolled phones, Sam would study the building's progress with quiet intensity. He'd walk the structure, checking connections, noting load distributions, mentally calculating stress points. Only he seemed to see. "What are you looking for, Sam?" Jake had asked one day. "Just making sure everything's solid," Sam had replied. Jake had laughed. "Leave that to the engineers, old man. They went to college for this stuff." Sam had nodded and smiled, keeping his thoughts to himself. Because hidden in his wallet, behind a photo of his late wife, was a Navy Cross awarded for extraordinary heroism during Operation Iraqi Freedom. The citation described how he'd held up a collapsing bunker with his bare hands, while 12 wounded soldiers crawled to safety, taking shrapnel in his shoulder, but never letting go until the last man was clear. Before Phoenix, Sam had spent 15 years as a Navy Seabee combat engineer, building airstrips in Afghanistan, bridges in Iraq, fortified positions throughout the Middle East. He'd constructed under mortar fire, designed structures that had to withstand rocket attacks, and learned that in war zones, engineering mistakes didn't just fail inspections, they killed people. The Seabees had sent him to advanced engineering schools, taught him structural design and rapid construction techniques. He'd earned certifications qualifying him for senior engineering positions. But after his wife's cancer diagnosis, Sam had chosen simple construction work over career advancement. The younger workers didn't know any of this until 2:47 p.m. on a Tuesday afternoon, when the San Andreas Fault shifted and Sam's hidden expertise became the difference between life and death. The first tremor was subtle, gentle swaying most mistook for a passing truck. But Sam felt it in his bones, recognized seismic activity from building in earthquake-prone regions. He was on the 15th floor when gentle swaying became violent shaking. Tools rattled, concrete sloshed, workers grabbed for support as the building began its terrifying dance. The shaking lasted 90 seconds. Sam assessed the building's response with cold analysis of someone who'd survived structures collapsing under bombardment. The Meridian Tower was well built, but Sam could feel something wrong, an irregularity that spoke to structural compromise. When shaking stopped, workers checked for injuries and secured equipment. But Sam was studying the building itself, cataloging subtle damage signs others missed. A hairline crack in a support column, a slight separation in beam connections, warning signs that structural integrity had been compromised. "Rick," Sam said quietly, approaching the foreman, "we need to evacuate the building." Torres looked surprised. "Evacuate?" "Sam, we're fine. The engineers will do inspection, but no reason to panic." "The building's compromised," Sam said, his voice carrying new authority. "I can see stress fractures in main supports. We've got maybe 30 minutes before secondary failures start cascading." Torres frowned. "Sam, that's not your call. The structural engineers will assess damage. We don't evacuate because a concrete worker gets nervous." "Rick," Sam said quietly, "in 15 years as a Navy Seabee combat engineer, I've seen a lot of buildings fail. This one's going to come down." The revelation hit the crew like a second earthquake. Torres stared at Sam as if seeing him for the first time. "You're Navy Seabees?" "Was. Petty Officer First Class, combat engineer. Specialized in structural assessment under hostile conditions." The building shuddered again, not from earthquake, but from internal structural failure, as damaged supports began shifting loads they could no longer bear. "That's progressive collapse starting," Sam said with grim certainty. "We've got maybe 20 minutes. Sam Martinez took control of a crisis that could have killed hundreds. "Rick, get on radio. Tell all crews to evacuate immediately. Start with upper floors. They'll have the longest way down." Torres hesitated, still processing that his concrete worker was actually a decorated combat engineer. "Rick!" Sam's voice carried authority of someone accustomed to being obeyed in life or death situations. "People are going to die if we waste time." Torres grabbed his radio. "All units, all floors. Immediate evacuation. This is not a drill." Sam was already moving, his mind shifting into tactical mode. He mapped evacuation routes, calculated bottlenecks, identified structural elements, most likely to fail first. Jake, Tommy, you're with me. Upper floors to guide people down. Marcus, coordinate with emergency services. They took the service elevator to the 40th floor and worked down, ensuring complete evacuation. Sam's military logistics experience showed as he organized evacuation with methodical efficiency. On the 35th floor, they encountered office workers waiting for official word. "Sir," a manager said, "we haven't received official evacuation order. Are you authorized?" Sam looked at the man's expensive suit, then at the structural crack, now visible to anyone who looked. "I'm authorized by the fact that this building is about to collapse," Sam said calmly. "Leave now, or explain to your family why you waited for official permission to survive." "What's your qualification for that assessment?" Sam showed his Navy Cross citation. 15 years building structures in combat zones. Right now, I'm the only person in this building who knows what progressive collapse looks like. The manager read the citation, realizing he was arguing with a decorated combat engineer. "How long do we have?" 10 minutes, maybe less. They cleared the building with 6 minutes to spare. Sam conducted a final sweep to ensure no one was left behind. As he exited, he could hear the building groaning, steel under stress, concrete cracking, connections failing in sequence. The Meridian Tower collapsed at 3:23 p.m., 41 minutes after the earthquake. 42 stories pancaked in 30 seconds, creating debris covering 2 city blocks. 0 casualties. When dust settled, Sam sat on a concrete barrier across the street, still wearing his hard hat, watching the ruins with quiet satisfaction. Fire Chief Maria Santos approached. "Are you the one who called the evacuation?" "Coordinated it," Sam corrected. "How did you know it would collapse?" "Building was compromised. Secondary supports were failing in sequence. Cascade failure was inevitable." "Are you an engineer?" "Was. Navy Seabee's combat engineer." "Why were you working construction if you're qualified for engineering positions?" Sam thought about his late wife, about choosing simple work over career advancement. Sometimes the most important job isn't the one with the biggest title. The story made national news. Sam declined most interview requests. He returned to work the next week, pinning on his hard hat as if nothing had changed. But something had changed. The crew that had dismissed him now understood they'd been working alongside a genuine hero. The company offered him a senior engineering role. Sam accepted a modest promotion to site safety coordinator, using his expertise without leaving the construction work he loved. Jake approached Sam during lunch. "Sam, we owe you an apology." "We never knew." Sam smiled. "You knew exactly who I was, Jake. You just didn't know what I'd done before. Those are different things." "Why didn't you tell us about the Navy, the training, the medal?" "Because the work speaks for itself. You don't need to know a man's past to trust his craftsmanship." Tommy joined the conversation, still processing everything. "Sam, that building. How many people were inside when it came down?" "Empty building?" "None. But if we hadn't evacuated..." Sam paused, calculating. "Probably around 800 people. Office workers, residents, maintenance staff." He looked back at the debris pile. Would have been the worst building collapse in Arizona history. The weight of what they'd almost witnessed settled over the group like concrete dust. Sam kept the newspaper clipping in his toolbox, next to his Navy Cross. But he never mentioned the incident, unless asked. The Phoenix Fire Department presented him with a Civilian Heroism Award. The Navy invited him to speak at training schools. Sam accepted the fire department award and donated the prize to a veterans construction program. Word spread through the construction community about who Sam really was. Projects began requesting him specifically, not just for expertise, but for his calm leadership. But Sam remained the same man, first to arrive, last to leave, more concerned with doing the job right than getting credit. Sometimes heroism isn't about dramatic rescues. Sometimes it's about building things properly, checking twice, taking time to do it right. Sometimes it's about having expertise to recognize danger and courage to act, even when others dismiss your warnings. So I ask you, have you ever met someone whose humble work hid extraordinary expertise? Someone who chose service over recognition? Share their story in the comments below. If this story moved you, hit that subscribe button and join the Silent Heroes community. We honor those who build, protect, and serve without asking for recognition. Turn on notifications and help us keep these stories alive. Because somewhere out there, someone needs to remember that true expertise doesn't always wear a suit and tie. Sometimes it wears a hard hat and work boots. Thank you for watching. And remember, the next time you see a construction worker, look closer. You might be standing next to someone who built things in places where mistakes meant people died.